Hi, I'm Allyn Root for Personal Liberty and PersonalLiberty.com. My commentary today is about our brilliant politicians and the unintended consequences of the things that they propose. It's entitled, Are Politicians Trying to Purposely Destroy the Housing Market? The damning evidence is in on two fronts. Housing continues to collapse to unimaginable levels. The latest numbers are in from December, showing that house prices fell in 18 out of 20 U.S. markets. The stats prove this housing collapse is now worse than the Great Depression. Also, just days ago, a J.P. Morgan economist presented a paper at a monetary conference in New York proving that housing was at the center of America's economic collapse. The facts are that the housing crash wiped out massive sum of Americans' wealth, destroying the borrowing and buying power of consumers. Depressed consumer spending, in turn, led to the loss of millions of jobs. With few consumers borrowing or buying, and so many Americans without jobs, housing prices continue to fall, destroying even more borrowing and more buying power, killing even more jobs. This is the very definition of a vicious economic cycle. Housing is at the root of all of it. Even worse, these experts predict the housing market will stay a drag on the economy for years to come. None of this news should come as a surprise, since the biggest investment of almost every responsible adult in this country is their home. There's a valuable lesson here. As housing goes, so goes the U.S. economy. Until we find a way to reverse the housing decline, our economy will remain in disaster mode. Enter the politicians. They've come to save us. They've come to save our economy, to create jobs. How did we get so lucky? President Obama's new big idea to save the economy from a housing collapse is to eliminate or severely limit the most important tax benefit in America today, the mortgage interest deduction. In other words, in order to help housing, Obama wants to eliminate the only thing that makes it advantageous to own a house. Sweet. Can you imagine a more ignorant politician? Homeowners depend on that deduction to pay their mortgage, whether your income is $50,000 or $500,000. We all bought our homes by factoring in the mortgage interest deduction. That deduction has been part of the contract between government and homeowners since the beginning of taxes. Take it away from high-income homeowners, and overnight, many of the people Obama calls the rich will be unable to afford their homes. Thanks, as usual, to the brilliant ideas of politicians. You ever get the feeling that the reason government feels our pain is because they're the ones causing it? If you think the housing market's in trouble now, wait until the home mortgage interest deduction is eliminated for upper-income homeowners. From Manhattan, Great Neck and Scarsdale to Boca Raton, Scottsdale and Brentwood, home prices in upper-class neighborhoods from coast to coast will drop by about 35% overnight. And that number is not a guess, it's automatic. If you're in the top income tax bracket, you deduct 35% of your mortgage interest off your tax bill. If tomorrow you can't, your home's worth about 35% less. That's how economics works. Unless, of course, Obama raises the income tax rate at the top to 40%. Then your home will drop by 40% overnight. Can you imagine the carnage to the housing market if that happens? Obama's economic theories just don't compute. He believes if you take away more of rich people's income through tax increases and you take away their deductions so that the value of their net worth collapses, that'll be good for the economy. He thinks if you take away rich people's money, consumer spending will increase, even though the facts are the top 2% of income earners in this country produce over 30% of consumer spending, while the top 5% of income earners produce 40% of consumer spending. It's obvious Obama never took an economics class at Columbia. If you think foreclosures and short sales are a problem now, guess what happens when home prices drop another 30 to 40%? We'll see a massive new wave of foreclosures from coast to coast, except this time it'll be expensive homes in upscale neighborhoods. The Great Recession will turn into a Great Depression. Luckily, most homeowners who have seen their home value melt away still pay their mortgage every month. You know what I call them? Responsible. If we didn't have people willing to pay their mortgage, what would happen to American banks? Well, if homes go down by a third or more overnight, we're about to find out. Many, if not most, of the formerly responsible homeowners will simply stop paying their bill. If you think we've had a banking crisis for the past 3 years, wait till you wake up the morning after the brilliant DC politicians take away the mortgage interest deduction. It's safe to say that many banks will become insolvent, if not all banks, resulting from worthless mortgages and massive foreclosures. But have no fear, the politicians will surely come up with a new bank bailout paid for by you, the taxpayer. I wish I could say it was only Obama and his socialist cabal that didn't understand the importance of the housing market, but Mitt Romney, the leading contender for the GOP nomination, the guy I've predicted that would win it from day one, just released his new tax plan. Lo and behold, he too plans to eliminate or dramatically limit the mortgage deduction for upper income Americans. Certainly this plan's far superior to Obama's, simply because Mitt Romney reduces income tax rates across the board by 20% in return for that loss of deductions. But that won't stop the real estate market from collapsing. Let's look at the ramifications of Mitt Romney's plan. If you cut my taxes by 20%, but at the same time take away my mortgage and charitable deductions, overall, you've probably raised my taxes. At the same time, you've dropped the value of my $1 million home by 30% overnight. That means I'm paying more taxes at the same time you drop my net worth by $300,000. If I own a $2 million home, you just drop my net worth by $600,000. With that kind of a whammy, upper income taxpayers will stop spending, stop buying, stop going for loans, and you'll have foreclosures all over upper income neighborhoods. Why would Romney propose this idea? Because he's trying to simplify and flatten tax rates. That's good intention. But the road to hell's always been paved with good intentions. Someone needs to point out to Mitt and the GOP that the most successful economy in the world belongs to Hong Kong. And their model is a 15% flat tax, zero capital gains tax, along with a mortgage interest deduction of up to $1 million and full charitable contributions. Are you listening, Mitt? Hong Kong's economy is booming, and their unemployment rate is 3.5%. In other words, the perfect choice for improving America's economy is to flatten the income tax rates while retaining the mortgage interest deduction. And you can bet I'll be spending the rest of the election season whispering, actually screaming, these facts into the ears of Mitt and his economic advisors. Smart economists are always lecturing about the sad history of politicians making decisions that cause unintended consequences. Obama and even Romney's tax plans are Exhibit A. Why would you want to accelerate the collapse of real estate when we know for a fact it's the foundation of the entire U.S. economy? Why would we even consider taking this reckless gamble at this fragile moment in time? Limit the mortgage deduction in the middle of the worst economy since 1929, and it could become the tipping point off a cliff. Foreclosures will increase, decimating banks. Consumer spending will dramatically slow. Small business owners will be unable to create jobs as they can no longer borrow money against their number one asset, their homes. Home sales will drop even further, and now it's going to no longer pay to own. You might as well rent. And of course, construction and real estate jobs are going to disappear. The trickle-down effect becomes a tsunami. Jobs are killed by the millions. It's time to educate the politicians, ladies and gentlemen, before it's too late. I'm Allyn Root for Personal Liberty, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.